Good evening. My name is Trisha Kondo. I'm known as the Intuitive Guide here, and I am, excuse me, I am a Native American psychic and a spiritual mentor. And I'm also the founder of Deeply Intuitive, Unleash Your Gifts to Attract Abundance, to be empowered, and to gain confidence in connecting to your guides. You also can find me on my website, which is trishakondo.com, and you can follow me on instagram.com/trishakondo. Well, that was a mouthful. Okay, so I really want to talk about this big post that I put earlier today. I was like, woo, that was a big topic. Have you ever played with the Ouija board? So I really want to share my story. But before I go into my story, I really want to talk about a little bit of history. So I just want to make sure that I am on the right page, because I just have this habit of doing that. So before I do that, can everybody tell me where you're from? Put it in the comments below. Where are you from? So I can say hi. Remember to like my video, to love it, and share it on public. So when I go back, I know who's sharing my video. Tag your friends, because this is going to be an interesting story. I've never shared this story with anybody before, so go ahead and like my video. Love it, share it in public, or tag your friends, because this is going to be interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go to my video. Okay, so there it is. So the Ouija board opened up a small portal to the spirit world for me. And before I go into that, I want to tell you a little bit about history about the Ouija board. So I researched it a little bit before coming on here. And Ouija board has really a bad reputation. And it doesn't come from what you think it comes from. Okay, so it was developed from spiritualism in the 1800s. I thought that was pretty interesting. Hi, Helen from Beneventure, right on. And actually, the story that I read was these two sisters that were, the last names was Fox. So the Fox sisters started to hear taps in their home. So they started to hear in their home. And they thought it was spirit that was trying to connect with them. And so it became a huge, huge movement because of what these sisters were talking about, saying that these spirits were trying to connect with them from beyond. And so what had happened with the Ouija board is they started to develop this alphabet. You know, they started to have this board, and they had, it was the alphabet first. So they put alphabets all over the place. And then they had turned a pencil upside down, which is a little coaster thing. They put the pencil upside down. It was almost like automatic writing. Hi, Laura. It was like automatic writing. So it started to evolve after that. And so it was like a form of a seance, talking to spirits with this board. So in the 1940s, mediumship was banned. I thought that was so interesting, because it was starting to get a little bit out of control. And it was what happened was people were doing a lot of mischief. They were fooling people into believing that spiritual channeling was actually going on, which it wasn't most of the time. And so some of these people would be sticking kids into cabinets, which I thought that was a little bit out there, but that's what they were doing. And I thought, what are they doing? They were sticking, back then they had these huge cabinets, it was almost like a closet. So they would stick those kids into the cabinets, and the kids would start rapping. So it would give the false, proof that spirit was actually there. So later in time, this Ouija board, that's how it got its name. It's from a woman. They always thought it was "we." It was a French origin. "We" and "ja" meaning truth, I guess, in German. But actually it's not. It's originated from a woman named Ouida. I thought that was interesting too. So I just thought that was more interesting. So as I started to read more, I got more informed. So in the 1960s, there was a lot of this movie industry. They were portraying the Ouija board as a sinister tool, right? And so it started to develop more as, you know, as part of this spooky culture and, you know, evil and really dangerous and all that. So it comes from the movie industry, you know, Hollywood. They really like to make things more dramatic than it has to be. So let's go into my story. I'm sure you're interested in what happened to me. So what happened to me in my 20s, I was pretty much a party girl, I'll tell you. Who wasn't, right? So I was a big time party girl, and I remember I invited everyone back to my house. At that time I was living at my mom's, and my mom was living with her boyfriend, and I had the house to myself. Anyways, I asked everyone to come over to my house and have a bit of a party. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and so I decided to bring up my Ouija board. It was underneath one of my seats. It was an old table. You know, when you lift up the seats, there was like storage area, compartment. So we brought out the Ouija. We were all playing it. Of course, we were drunk, and it was really spooky. We started to hear things. We started to hear tapping, and we started hearing tapping, and we started hearing people were getting freaked out, and so I decided to put it away. And when everybody left, I brought it back out. I started to put it on the table by myself, and it was pitch black. So I started to put it on my hands by myself, okay? And it was going faster and faster and faster, and then it started to spell out a name, and I asked it questions. Anyways, long story short, I just got the feeling that there was people in the room with me. I had this eerie feeling that there was a man right behind me. It was getting a little creepy. And so what happened, it was I started to open a bit of a small portal into the spirit world. I didn't realize what was going on. My skills, my intuitive skills weren't really sharpened then. I think I was starting to read people. So, you know, I really didn't believe in all these stories and about Ouija being evil and it's an open doorway to the, you know, to hell and all that. I didn't really believe that. So I was a little bit more cocky back then. But anyways, then I put the Ouija board away, and I started to go upstairs, and I started hearing footsteps in the kitchen. And I'm like, hello? I started saying, hello? Is there anybody down there? Because back then, the stairs where you could see right through them. They were all cedar. And this was in the living room. And in my living room, it's wide open. Like it goes, oh Jesus, it's almost like 2 floors. So I'm listening, and I could hear whispering. And I'm like, huh, what is that? So I started hearing whispering. I heard talking, and I'm like, did somebody come back? Did somebody miss something? Maybe they forgot a jacket. So I'm saying hello, and I went downstairs. I heard a couple of things, and then it all stopped. Then I went back upstairs, and I heard dishes being moved around. And I thought that was, okay, what the heck is going on here? So then I started to hear, it felt like it was 2 or 3 people in the kitchen, because in my mom's house, there's the kitchen, and there's a dining room, and then there's the living room. And the living room's like 2 stories high. And so I was listening to all that, and I was listening to, it's almost like, it was like a small party going on. And I'm like, what is going on? That's friggin' freaky. And so I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do? And so what had happened is I actually threw out the Ouija board. And I said, okay, I opened up something here I shouldn't have. And so what happened is it started to go like that for a few weeks, and I finally saged my whole kitchen where it happened, and the dining room and the kitchen and the living room. I saged like crazy. And I said, you need to leave. Whoever you are, you need to leave. I'd say it took about a month or two before everything started to settle down. So I started to notice, okay, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be playing with that by myself or with anybody. And so I never touched the Ouija board again. So that was my story. Have you ever played with a Ouija board? Did you have any weird experiences? Put them in the comments below. I had some weird things going on. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I can understand the tapping. That had happened to me. I heard tapping on the walls. I remember that. It was almost like in threes. I thought that was interesting. And I remember hearing the dishes moving. I was like, okay. It freaked me out a little bit, but you know, I was just beginning. I remember I was doing tarot card readings. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be doing that anymore. But I continued anyways, but it was starting to freak me out a little bit. I was new back then, but yeah, I had that's my story. I don't know if you have any other really cool stories that happened to you. I remember it vaguely. I was playing with it, but I don't want to go in circles here. So does anybody have any stories that happened to them? Anything like tapping or walking around, or... Because I really remember it felt like there was a man and a woman and a man. It just felt like there was like a lot of masculine energy when that happened. I thought that was it freaked me out because I was young. I was maybe 21 or 22, something like that. It was quite a while ago. Does anybody have any stories? Oh, somebody just wrote something here. I never had anything weird or bad happen to me, just whatever spirit we were connected with. But my mom had some crazy experiences. Yeah, some people have some crazy stories, but that is my experience. Maybe because I can hear spirits, so I just heard a man talking and a woman. It was just like they were having breakfast or having supper. It was really interesting, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? I'm like, maybe somebody come back, or I was just like, I came down the stairs. I'm like, I was about to greet them, and as soon as I got there, the whispering stopped. It was just like, huh, that's interesting. Of course, did I sleep that much that night? No. The next night I was fine, but then I had to go back to Seja, and I wasn't in that house that much. So yeah, that is my experience. Okay, so I am gonna go. So if you ever want to learn, there's an alternative way to connect with guides. Guides are not, they don't play around like that. They don't make you scared, you know, like what the Ouija board did to me. It could be like maybe I was a little bit tired that night, but anyways, I know what happened to me. So if you ever are interested in knowing how to connect, there's an alternative way to connect to guides and really tap into your gifts. Now my gifts are, I'm clairvoyant, and I am clairaudient, and I'm clairsentient. So that's just a fancy word to say I see things, I feel things, and I hear. So it's lights, camera, action. And if you ever wondered how you can develop your intuition, I do teach that. I do mentor a lot of women who are at the beginning stages. So some of them things are starting to happen and they're a bit scared. Almost like when I was going through the Ouija phase. I call it a Ouija phase. It didn't last very long, but the Ouija, that part of the freaky little time. But so yeah, I remember that so well because I remember it being late and I was up all night and it freaked me out a little bit. yeah, like I don't have any wanting to play with a Ouija board, but yeah. So there's an alternative way to connect to guides, which are spirit guides. And I remember I was really young. I knew that I was a bit of a medium back then, so maybe I heard it because that part of me is in me, that I can hear spirits. But they were loud and clear that night. I'm like, holy shoot. That's when I was becoming aware. I was becoming awakened. Like somebody just said, oh, time to stop sleeping. It's time for you to listen now. You got no choice. But yeah, when that happened, I was just like, got no choice now. You got to listen to us. Okay, I guess I got no choice. But it was a good experience, though. It was a bit scary, but good. Yeah. I started to notice that I was actually evolving. It was a little bit of mediumship. No, it's not a little, it was a lot. It was a lot of mediumship. I remember it was a man and a woman and a man talking. It was just like whispering. And I remember I was tuning into that. A lot more things also happened to me in that house, because a lot of spooky things happened in the house. I call it spooky back then because I wasn't as experienced the way that I'm now, because I've evolved from being a beginner to being very experienced and very, very confident and secure in my abilities and my intuitive abilities and connecting with spirit guides. And yeah, I went from really being scared and unsure and not very confident and just a beginner and having some anxiety too about certain things, to being confident and knowing my stuff. And so what I do is I help people get out of being scared like that when I had that Ouija moment. I call it a Ouija moment. And I go to more like, you don't need a Ouija board. You just need yourself. And so I use tarot cards, and people are amazed that I use tarot cards in order to connect with my guides. That's what I do. That's what I use. I'm not going to apologize for it. So that's what I do. And if you're wondering how you can actually trust yourself, I can actually do it because I have a shortcut for all of this. You don't have to go years and years of training and, you know, sit in a lotus position and putting crystals left, right, and center. You don't need to do that. I can shorten your trip. Anyways, I've been talking too long, and I'm a bit tired. So if you want to book a free breakthrough call, you can do it here. I have one more spot tomorrow. I'm actually booked up this Saturday, and I opened more spots next week. So if you're curious about, maybe you're at the beginning and you're having these scary moments where you're like, holy. Yeah, these are starting to happen to me where you're starting to tune into things. Maybe you're tuning into people. Maybe you're knowing things in advance. Maybe you're scared of what's going on. You're like apprehensive. Maybe shy about this. Maybe you don't have anybody to go to. I wish I had me back then. Back then, go time travel and say, hey, you're tapping into something. You're tapping into the spirit world. And I can teach you how to do that. You don't have to go 10, 20 years of going to, taking all these courses that don't do nothing for you. And I'm very direct. I prefer people being direct with me and not sugarcoating anything. So I am that way. If you're looking for somebody who's not into fluff, I'm not a fluff person. I'm going to be very honest with you, very direct, and give you some support, which I wish I had back then. All right, so I'm going to go, and I wish you all a good night, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye.